Just the mere threat of these sanctions could stop Manchester City signing some star players. Simply having the accusation is going to have a drastic impact on the Premier League, on Manchester City, and on the title race for years to come. This is huge. It feels like this is the seminal moment in football that we have been waiting for. And by no means is this anti-Manchester City rhetoric. I honestly mean that. This entire thing, in my opinion, is good news, but not because of any hostility towards Manchester City. I think football is broken. I think football needs to change, and I think that football has been ruined for a long time by the pollution of money. And something needs to give. It's not kind, it's not nice, it's not holistic, and it doesn't feel right when British clubs launch ourselves into Europe and spray our disgusting cash all over Europe, recruit the best, basically pillage some of the biggest teams in Europe for their talent and bring them back to our shores because we know that we have the TV audience. We have a situation where clubs are paying over the odds for players. Let's use an example, and again, this is totally not biased. Let's use an example. Manchester United overpaid for Anthony by their own admission. They acknowledged that he was not worth the amount of money that they eventually paid for him. But they paid it anyway because they knew that signing him could easily be recouped because of the eyeballs that Manchester United can generate. And if anybody thinks that I'm being biased here, my club, I'm an ardent, lifelong Chelsea fan, has been guilty of this for decades. You know, this is a modern issue for some clubs, but any semblance of rational spending went out of the window at Stamford Bridge decades ago. I'm pleased that finally it's being looked at. But I do think that regardless of how this moves forward, Manchester City's summer transfer ambitions are totally derailed by the mere accusation. The threat of sanctions alone is enough to turn away any potential player. Think about the players that Manchester City are going to want to sign. They are all elite. Therefore, elite players have something very precious in life. That thing is choice. Why on earth would anyone want to sign for Manchester City with this looming over them? This isn't about the rules. Of course, there is an issue with the rules. Of course, there is an issue with Pep Guardiola that we will come on to. But this isn't about that. This is simply about venturing into the unknown. It's not worth the risk for an elite player. I think one of the biggest draws of playing for Manchester City is the dream of linking up with arguably the greatest manager to have ever lived. That isn't my opinion, but Pep Guardiola certainly changed the game, and he is one of the best managers to have ever graced the face of the earth. So having the opportunity to earn a fortune, to virtually guarantee yourself silverware, and to play for Pep Guardiola is definitely in a lot of players' thinking and decision-making process when they ultimately sign for Manchester City. But maybe not anymore. In May last year, Pep Guardiola himself told us that he would leave his position as City manager if the club had lied to him about their compliance with financial fair play rules. Pep Guardiola wants no part of any skullduggery, and he has openly spoken and told us that if there is any wrongdoing by anyone at Manchester City, that he will simply get on his bike and leave. If they're found guilty, it will make it impossible for him to stay. If they're found guilty, he will leave on the spot. If they're found guilty, the penalties that will come their way will almost make it untenable for Pep Guardiola to hang about. But his ethics, his personal code, and the morals within which he conducts himself do not allow him to stay at Manchester City. Therefore, a huge part of the pulling power for Manchester City, Pep Guardiola, is suddenly vanished. The Premier League have charged Manchester City with 115 alleged breaches of financial rules. That is huge. And we are already hearing that these charges and their potential repercussions have sparked concern amongst some of the more high-profile targets in the next transfer window for Manchester City. So let's think about who this could be. City are obviously looking to strengthen their midfield. They are also desperately looking to strengthen at left-back this summer. With regard to the midfield, Jude Bellingham is the jewel in the crown of everybody in pursuit of an elite-level midfielder. Virtually every single club feels like their midfield needs to be improved upon. Liverpool, for very obvious reasons. Manchester City, for less obvious reasons. But things aren't going to plan. Kevin De Bruyne, chronically out of form. Bernardo Silva is very keen to leave. A couple of years ago, it was AC Milan. More recently, it was Paris Saint-Germain. And I believe that he will leave very soon. Real Madrid will always be linked with top-tier players. And therefore, Jude Bellingham will have his choice of clubs. Personally, I think he stays at Dortmund for another year. But Manchester City will now potentially not be able to sign him. And this is obviously applicable to Declan Rice, who they've been linked with. Ben Chilwell, who they've really annoyingly been linked with. Rafael Leao, who they've been linked with. This is going to run and run. And the ramifications and the knock-on effect of this are going to be felt across the globe. Because if Rafael Leao is going to find a new club and that club is not Manchester City, who's going to be the beneficiary? And when you analyse the possible sanctions against City that are available to the Premier League, you deduce exactly why no player really is going to want to go there. There is so much potential, and it could be a really rough road ahead for Man City. We've already explored Pep Guardiola leaving, which I think is the most severe punishment that could come their way, because Pep Guardiola is Manchester City. They built their club for Pep Guardiola. They were building it for Guardiola before he was even their manager, and they have tailored it perfectly to his every will and need. So that would be huge. But say they get a huge points deduction. That will almost definitely cost them Champions League football. That has an impact on the players that will sign, because players naturally want to play and compete at the best cup tournament in the world. Another fairly possible and plausible punishment that will come their way: relegation. Manchester City in the Championship. Manchester City no longer competing in the Champions League. So their fixture list no longer goes Liverpool, Manchester United, Real Madrid. It goes Millwall, Queen's Park Rangers, Borough. No way an elite European footballer who has the world at his feet is going to consider signing for them in that circumstance. City in Division 2, eh? Imagine that. They'll have to find out what Paul Dickov, Sean Goater and Ian Bishop are up to. But I think this is very important. I don't like this. I'm not enjoying it. This is by no stretch any hostility towards Man City. I just think that football needs a sea change. Football needs to find itself again, because it has gone in a crazy direction that isn't what the game is supposed to be. This isn't about hypocrisy, people telling me, oh, you're a Chelsea fan, how can you do that? I'm a Chelsea fan and I don't like the way that my club spends money. I think it's abhorrent and I think it needs to change. And if the seminal moment comes now, then I think this is a good thing. Also, I think it's very important that I make this point clear. City intend to use every single possible legal avenue to fight these charges. They are protesting their innocence. So let's find out. If they are cleared, if they are innocent, then they need an apology. These accusations mud sticks and it's unjust. If, however, they are found guilty, I think we need to throw the book at them. So let justice commence. Thank you so much for watching this video. Do you agree with me? Do you think that it can be this draconian, this serious? Do you think that this could be the moment that football rediscovers itself? And do you think that Manchester City will recover from this? Because even these accusations, as we have established in this video, can have a huge impact on who the club are and where the club are going next. Thank you so much. Really am looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this. So please let me know where you stand in the comments below. And if you're new around here, it would be my honour to welcome you into this community. So please do click subscribe. See you in a bit.